The air conditioning in the First National Bank branch on 4th Street hummed with that specific, aggressive rattle that only old buildings have. It was a sterile sound, cold and indifferent, much like the temperature of the room. Naya sat in the faux leather chair, the material sticking slightly to the back of her scrubs. She smelled like antiseptic soap, bleach, and the faint, sweet scent of cocoa butter she applied religiously every morning. Her feet, clad in sensible white nursing clogs, throbbed with a dull, rhythmic ache, the kind that settles deep in the bones after a 12-hour shift on the geriatrics ward. But she sat with her spine straight, her hands folded neatly over her purse. She was here for Zoe. Across the desk, the loan officer, a woman named Brenda with reading glasses perched precariously on her nose, was typing. Click, clack, click. The sound echoed in the quiet bank. "All right, Mrs. Davis," Brenda said, her eyes not leaving the screen. "We're just pulling up the joint visuals to see the debt-to-income ratio for this student loan. Zoe is a bright girl, you said. Howard University." "Yes, ma'am," Naya said, a tired but proud smile touching her lips. "She's got a partial scholarship, but we just need to bridge the gap for room and board. My husband, Marcus, and we've been preparing." Brenda nodded, hitting the enter key with a flourish. She frowned. She squinted. She tapped the screen with a manicured fingernail. "Is there a problem?" Naya asked. Her heart did a small, traitorous flutter. Money was always tight, but Marcus's contracting business had been steady, or so he said. "Well," Brenda hesitated, turning the monitor slightly away, a universal sign of bad news. "It's just, the system is flagging a recurring obligation I didn't see on your application. It affects the disposable income calculation." Naya furrowed her brow. "Obligation? We have the mortgage, the truck note for the business, that's it." Brenda looked at Naya, then back at the screen. Her expression shifted from professional detachment to something softer. Pity. It was pity. Naya hated it immediately. "Mrs. Davis," Brenda said softly, "it says here your husband, Marcus Davis, has a priority child support account linked to his primary checking. $15,000 was transferred just yesterday to bring the arrears current." The world stopped. The hum of the AC vanished. The clicking of the tellers in the background ceased. All Naya could hear was the rushing of blood in her ears, sounding like a roaring ocean. 15,000? Naya's voice was a whisper, dry and brittle. She cleared her throat. "Ma'am, there must be a mistake. We only have one child, Zoe. She's 17. We don't pay child support. We paid tuition." Brenda turned the monitor fully toward Naya. The light from the screen was harsh. Naya's eyes scanned the lines, blurring at first, then sharpening with painful clarity. Transaction type, court-ordered support. Beneficiary, Malik Johnson. Payer, Marcus Davis. Naya reached out, her hand trembling so violently that her wedding ring clicked against the glass of the monitor. She traced the name. "Who?" Naya breathed, the air leaving her lungs as if she'd been punched in the solar plexus. "Who is Malik?"
Hey everyone, how y'all doing today? I hope you are blessed and highly favored. Come on in the room, family. Wipe your feet at the door and settle your spirits. It's Auntie Gloria, and I am glad you are here, though I wish we were gathering under lighter circumstances. Before we get into the thick of it, and baby, it is thick today, I need to know who is in the building with me. I want to see New York. I want to see London. I want to see Lagos. I want to see Atlanta. Let me know you're here and you're ready to receive this word. Now, grab your tea or maybe something stronger because this one is messy. This story right here is going to touch a nerve for anybody who has ever poured themselves out until they were empty, only to find out someone else was drinking from their cup. We are talking about Naya. A woman who built a kingdom brick by brick, double shift by double shift, only to find out the king was playing house in a whole other castle. It's a story about betrayal, yes, but it's also a story about receipts. And let me tell you, when a good woman gets tired, the devil himself pulls up a chair to take notes. Are you ready? Let's go back.
Let's go back to before the bank, before the heartbreak. Let's see how the trap was set. We have to go back 15 years. You need to understand who Nia was to understand why the fall was so hard. Nia wasn't just a wife. She was the foundation. You know the type. The woman who carries the mental load, the emotional load, and the financial load, making it look like gravity doesn't apply to her. It was a Tuesday night, 2008. The kitchen of their small apartment smelled of fried onions and cheap dish soap. Nia was 24 then, eyes bright, skin glowing, despite the fact that she'd just worked an 8-hour shift at the retail counter before heading to her CNA classes. Marcus was sitting at the wobbly laminate table, his head in his hands. He was handsome. Lord, he was handsome. That smile could sell ice to a polar bear. But that night, the smile was gone. "I failed the certification again, Nia," Marcus mumbled into his palms. "I can't pay the retake fee, and trade school tuition is due Friday. I'm gonna have to drop out, go back to warehouse work." Nia stopped scrubbing the pan. She dried her hands on a rag, the fabric rough against her skin. She walked over and placed a hand on his shoulder. She could feel the tension in his muscles, the fear of failure radiating off of him. "You are not dropping out, Marcus," she said, her voice steady. "You are going to be a contractor. You're going to build this city. We talked about this." "With what money, Nia?" He looked up, eyes red-rimmed. "We barely make in rent, and your nursing program tuition is due next week, too. We can't do both." The silence in the kitchen was heavy. The refrigerator hummed, a broken, rattling sound. Nia looked at the textbook on the counter. Fundamentals of Nursing. It was her dream. She wanted to be a registered nurse. She wanted the pin, the white coat, the respect. But she looked at Marcus. She saw his potential. She saw their future. "I'll wait," Nia said softly. "What?" "I'll wait," she repeated, firmer this time. "I can defer my acceptance a semester, or a year. You finish trade school, you get the business license. Once you're up and running, I'll go back." Marcus stood up and hugged her, burying his face in her neck. "I swear to you, Nia, when my business pops off, you will never have to work like this again. I'm gonna give you the world." She believed him. Fast forward 5 years. The sacrifice didn't stop. It mutated. It was 2 a.m. on a rainy Saturday. Nia was sitting in her 2004 Honda Civic, parked outside a construction site where Marcus was trying to finish a framing job to beat a deadline. The rain hammered against the roof. Thrum, thrum, thrum. She was exhausted. She had just finished a double shift at the nursing home. Her ankles were swollen over the tops of her socks. Her back had a knot in it the size of a fist. She wasn't sleeping. She was balancing the checkbook by the light of the dashboard. Debit, lumber supply, $450. Debit, work permit, $200. Credit, Nia paycheck, $1,800. She sighed, her breath fogging the window. She took a pen and crossed out Nia new shoes from her mental list. She crossed out weekend trip to Savannah. She reached into the passenger seat and touched the styrofoam container. She'd brought him hot food, oxtails and rice kept warm in a cooler. Even after working 16 hours, she made sure he ate. Marcus tapped on the window. He looked energized, high on the hustle. "Baby, you're a lifesaver," he said, taking the food. "Hey, I need to put the new compressor on a card. The business account is tapped until the client pays out." Nia didn't hesitate. She reached into her purse, passed her own maxed-out debit card, and pulled out the credit card she had opened in her name for emergencies. "Use this," she said, her voice raspy with sleep. But Marcus, that's the last of the credit limit. Don't worry, he grinned, that charming grin that had bought him 15 years of her life. Big check coming next week. I gotcha. He jogged back to the site. Naya leaned her head back against the headrest and closed her eyes for just a second, listening to the rain, unaware that she was drowning. The betrayal didn't happen all at once. It happened in whispers. It happened in the quiet moments that Naya was too busy to analyze because she was too busy holding up the sky. It started with the receipt. Naya was doing laundry. It was a mundane Sunday chore. The washing machine chugged rhythmically. The smell of fresh rain detergent filled the utility room. She was checking Marcus's pockets, a habit born of finding too many pens exploded in the dryer. She pulled out a crumpled ball of paper from his jeans. She smoothed it out on top of the dryer. It was warm from his body heat, the ink slightly faded. Bloom and Sprout Children's Boutique. Item, girl's velvet dress, size 4T. Item, boys action sneakers, size 7. Total, $185. Naya frowned. She stared at the paper. $185? They shopped at Target. Zoe was 16. She hadn't worn a 4T since the Bush administration. She walked into the living room where Marcus was watching the game. Marcus? He didn't look away from the TV. Yeah, babe? I found this in your pocket. What is this? He glanced at it, and for a split second, a microsecond, his eyes widened, a flicker of panic. Then the mask slid back into place. Oh, that, he laughed, waving a hand dismissively. That's for Tony of the site. His truck broke down, asked me to pick up his kids' birthday gifts on my way back from the supply house. He paid me cash. Tony? Naya asked. The guy with the gold tooth? Yeah, that's the one. It made sense. It was plausible. Naya crumpled the receipt and threw it in the trash. But a small, cold nut tied itself in her stomach. Tony didn't seem like the type to buy velvet dresses. Then came the phone. Marcus had always been careless with his phone, leaving it on the counter, the sofa, the bathroom sink. But suddenly, the phone lived in his pocket. When he set it down, it was always face down. One evening, Naya was chopping peppers for fajitas. The sharp, spicy smell filled the kitchen. Marcus was on the back porch. The glass door was cracked open just an inch. She heard his voice. Not his work voice, which was loud and booming, and not his husband voice, which was comfortable and familiar. This was a voice she hadn't heard in years. It was low, gentle, intimate. I know, baby girl. I know it's hard, he whispered. I'm trying to get away. She's always watching me. Naya froze. The knife hovered over a red pepper. She's always watching me. She pushed the door open. Marcus? He jumped. He physically jumped, spinning around, his hand clapping over the phone. Hey, I was just talking to a client. Difficult lady, wants a refund. You talk to clients like that? Naya asked, stepping onto the porch. The evening air was cool, but she felt hot. You call clients baby girl? Marcus stood up, his face hardening. The gaslighting began. Naya, stop. You're crazy. I said, baby girl, listen. I was explaining the contract. Why are you always snooping? You don't trust me after all I do for this family? He stormed inside, making her feel guilty, making her feel like the villain. Naya stayed on the porch, staring into the dark yard, wondering if she was losing her mind. The final straw was the picture. 2 weeks later, Naya decided to detail his truck as a surprise. He had a big meeting with a developer, and she wanted him to look professional. She was wiping down the dashboard with Armor All, the chemical smell sharp in her nose. She flipped down the passenger visor to clean the mirror. A photo fluttered into her lap. It was a school portrait, a wallet-sized photo of a little boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old. He had a gap in his front teeth. He had skin the color of warm honey. And he had Marcus's eyes. Naya didn't breathe. She picked up the photo. It wasn't just the eyes. It was the shape of the jaw, the way one ear was slightly higher than the other. It was Marcus staring back at her from a child's face. She heard the front door open. Marcus walked out, coffee in hand. He saw her in the truck. He saw the photo in her hand. He didn't yell. He didn't run. He walked over, snatched the photo from her fingers, and shoved it into his pocket. "Cousin's kid," he said, his voice flat. "Cute, right?" "Marcus," Naya said, her voice trembling, "that boy looks exactly like you." "We got strong genes in my family, Naya. You know that. Why are you digging? Why can't you just clean the truck and leave my stuff alone?" He slammed the truck door and drove off. Naya stood in the driveway, the smell of tire shine and betrayal hanging in the air. She wasn't crazy. She knew that now. She walked back into the house, picked up her phone, and opened the Notes app. She typed one word: log. The family barbecue was an institution. It was held at Marcus's mother's house, Miss Laverne. The yard was filled with the smell of charcoal smoke, sweet hickory sauce, and the sound of Frankie Beverly and Mays playing over the speakers. Cousins were playing spades at a card table, slamming cards down with aggressive joy. Naya was there, but she wasn't there. She was moving through the crowd like a ghost. She was wearing a yellow sundress that Marcus used to love, but today it felt like a costume. She had spent the last 3 weeks since the bank visit gathering intel. She had the bank statements. She had the birth certificate she found online. She had the screenshots from Facebook. She wasn't going to make a scene. She was just going to survive the day and then serve him the papers on Monday. But God has a way of forcing the truth into the light. Naya was serving potato salad onto Miss Laverne's plate when the music seemed to dip. A car had pulled up onto the grass. Not a nice car. A rusted, dented sedan that sputtered and died with a heavy clunk. The conversation in the yard died down. People looked over, forks suspended halfway to their mouths. A woman stepped out. She was younger than Naya, maybe mid-30s, but she looked worn. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. She wore a stained t-shirt and jeans. But it was who she was with that stopped Naya's heart. A boy, the boy from the photo, Malik, and a toddler girl on her hip. "Marcus!" the woman screamed. Her voice was raw, shrill. "Marcus, don't you hide in there!" Marcus, who was manning the grill, froze. He was holding a pair of tongs. He looked at the woman, then he looked at Naya. The color drained from his face, leaving him ashy. "Keisha, what are you doing here?" Marcus hissed, stepping away from the grill. "I told you I'd handle it." "Handle it?" Keisha yelled. She walked right past the spades table. "Handle it? The lights are off, Marcus. My babies are sitting in the dark because you playing rich man over here with your wife." The word wife hung in the air like a curse. Miss Laverne stood up, her cane shaking. "Marcus, who is this woman? Who are these children?" The silence was deafening. The only sound was the sizzling of burgers burning on the unattended grill. Marcus tried to laugh it off. "Ma, it's nothing. She's crazy. She's just a former tenant or something." Keisha dropped the toddler onto the grass and reached into her bag. She didn't pull out a gun. She pulled out a paternity test. "Tenant?" Keisha looked at Naya. She looked Naya dead in the eye. There was no hate in Keisha's eyes, only exhaustion. "Sister, I know you know. I know you know about Malik. He told me you were okay with it. He told me you guys had an arrangement." Naya felt every eye in the yard turn to her. Her best friend Tasha dropped her soda cup. Ice spilled onto the patio. Naya didn't scream. She didn't cry. She felt a strange, icy calm settle over her. She looked at Marcus, sweating and stammering. She looked at Keisha, desperate and broken. She looked at the little boy, Malik, who was looking at Marcus with fear. Naya walked over to the table where her purse was. She didn't run. She walked slow. Her heels clicked on the pavement. Click, click, click. She opened her purse and pulled out the manila folder she had been carrying for weeks. "No, Keisha," Naya said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried across the yard. "We don't have an arrangement, but we do have receipts." She opened her folder. She held up the bank statement. "Marcus told you he was broke?" Naya asked Keisha. "He transferred $15,000 to a secret account on Tuesday. That was Zoe's college money." Gasps rippled through the family. Miss Laverne clutched her chest. "Zoe's money?" Naya turned to Marcus. He was backing away, hands up. "Naya, baby, wait." "Don't," Naya said. She looked at him with absolute disgust. "I worked double shifts for 15 years, Marcus. I scrubbed other people's mothers. I missed my daughter's plays. I slept in my car. I built this life. I built you." She threw the papers on the picnic table. They scattered among the ribs and the coleslaw. "And you used my sweat to fund your secrets." Naya looked at Miss Laverne. "I'm sorry to ruin the barbecue, Ma. But I think Marcus needs to go, because this is my house now." Marcus laughed, a nervous, jittery sound. "Your house? Naya, stop playing. My name is on the deed." Naya smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator who has already eaten. "Is it?" she asked. "Think back, Marcus. Think back to 2010, when your credit score was 420 and we refinanced. Think back to who signed the lines." She picked up her purse. "Enjoy the barbecue. I'm going to see my lawyer." The fallout was slow, painful, and absolutely necessary. Naya didn't just leave. She excavated him from her life. The following Monday, Naya sat in the office of attorney Beatrice King. Beatrice was a shark in a silk blouse. She laid out the paperwork on the mahogany desk. "You were smart, Naya," Beatrice said, tapping the documents, "because the business loan is secured by your assets, and the LLC lists you as the majority shareholder, 51% to his 49% because of that credit issue back in the day. You control the company. Technically, Marcus works for you." Naya took a deep breath. The smell of old leather books and expensive coffee filled the room. "So I can fire him?" "You can do more than that," Beatrice smiled. "You can restructure." Marcus came home on Tuesday to find his key didn't turn. He banged on the door. "Naya, open this door." Naya spoke through the Ring doorbell. She was sitting on the couch with a glass of wine, watching the Golden Girls. "Your things are in the storage unit on 5th Street, Marcus. The code is 1234. Simple, like you." Naya didn't shut down the construction company. It was her retirement plan, too. She went to the job site the next day. She wore a hard hat and a safety vest. She called a meeting of the crew. "Marcus is taking a leave of absence," she told the men. She pointed to the foreman, a reliable older man named Mr. Henderson. "Mr. Henderson is in charge now. Paychecks come from me. Any questions?" The men nodded. They knew who signed the checks. They knew who brought the coffee. They respected the hustle. It got worse for Marcus. Without Naya's income to subsidize his lifestyle, he couldn't maintain the big boss image. Keisha, realizing there was no secret pot of gold, filed for formal, court-ordered support. Since Marcus was now unemployed by the main company, the court looked at his potential earnings and garnished whatever scraps he made from side jobs. He moved into a studio apartment above a mechanic shop. It smelled of grease and regret. One afternoon, 6 months later, Naya was stopped at a red light. She was in her new car, a sensible SUV, fully paid for. She looked out the window. She saw Marcus. He was standing outside a hardware store, arguing with a clerk about the price of drywall. He looked older. His shoulders were slumped. He wasn't the king anymore. He was just a man who had fumbled the bag. Naya didn't honk. She didn't wave. The light turned green. She pressed the gas and drove forward, checking her rearview mirror only once to make sure the lane was clear. She had a pinning ceremony to get to. She had finished her RN degree. Scene. Auntie Gloria leans back in her chair. The tea is finished. Her expression is serious, maternal, and fierce. Well, family, there it is. You see, Naya made one mistake. It wasn't loving him. It wasn't supporting him. Her mistake was thinking that her sacrifice was a deposit into a joint account when Marcus was treating it like a donation. Ladies, gentlemen, listen to Auntie Gloria. You cannot love a person into potential. You cannot light yourself on fire to keep somebody else warm and then be surprised when you burn to ash. Naya reclaimed her time. She reclaimed her name. And most importantly, she reclaimed her peace. Always check the receipts, in love and in finance. Did you like this story, my loves? Let me know in the comments. Did Marcus get what he deserved, or was Naya too harsh? I know what I think, but I want to hear from you. If this story blessed you, hit that super thanks button. It helps Auntie keep the lights on and the tea brewing. Subscribe and turn on notifications because you do not want to miss the next one. We have a story coming up about a mother-in-law who wore white to the wedding and regretted it. Until next time, stay blessed, stay woke, and keep your name on the deed.